Welcome to the Following Films podcast, where we dive deep into the world of cinema with the writers, directors, and artists who bring incredible stories to life. Today I'm thrilled to be joined by the talented Peter Hastings, the writer and director of the animated adaptation of DOGMAN, which is currently in theaters and available on VOD. Peter has had an incredible career in animation, working on beloved projects like Kung Fu Panda, Legends of Awesomeness, and Pinky and the Brain. Now he's brought this beloved graphic novel series to the big screen in a way that has delighted fans of all ages, including my own son Jacob. In fact, Jacob is such a huge fan of DOGMAN that I thought it would only be appropriate to have him ask the very first question. Hope you enjoy the show. Thanks. Hey Peter, how are you today?
All right. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Is that your boss next to you?
This is the boss. And so normally I don't have my son sit in with me, but I told him that who I was going to get to speak to today. And you made me cool in the eyes of this guy right here. So I got to say thank you for that. And I told him to give him the chance to ask a question if that's okay with you.
Totally, of course.
All right, so go ahead. This is Peter. He's the director of DOGMAN.
What's your name?
This is Jacob.
Jacob.
Hey, Jacob.
Hello.
Do you have a question?
What's your favorite Easter egg in the movie?
Oh my gosh. That is so hard. It's funny. We were just talking about that. I've seen this movie 100 times, and I'm still seeing stuff that I never saw before. Well, it's not really an Easter egg, but there's a billboard that's for Pickle Pete's Pickles. And when I was a kid, my brothers used to call me Pickle Pete. So I like that one, that billboard.
That's fantastic. Okay.
I can tell you there's so many, and there's so many hidden on all the newspapers and everything in the movie. They're all over the place.
It's definitely something that makes it rewatchable, huh, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, say thank you and go ahead.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome. Have fun.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you for indulging that, Peter. I really appreciate it. That's not something that happens very often where I get to talk to somebody that's doing something that really impresses my children. So they have no interest in what I do. So this was actually
you didn't have a question for the brutalist?
Yeah, I have several on that. So
yeah, but he didn't. Yeah, your son didn't.
Yeah. So, but yeah, nothing on Honora from him quite yet for the opening sequence.
No, okay,
but so with DOGMAN, with adapting something like this that has a huge following like this was one of the first books that I read with him that I think introduced him to comedy and reading. You know, when he would get to those transitions, there was something that he just really gravitated towards, the way you would have something that would end a page and then the next chapter would be sort of contradicting it. And so he would see that and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. But it would also be something that would draw you in further into the story and keep you reading a little bit. So I think these books helped create a lifelong reader out of my son. He reads every day. So it's a big responsibility in adapting something like this.
Yeah. And it's, that's a big achievement and goal of Dav Pilkey. And it was the same thing with the Captain Underpants books.
Yeah.
And he's constantly hearing that's like, those are the books that got my kid interested in reading and got them started reading. And the other part of it too, I think, and DOGMAN is well, both of the series are good, but is just promoting creativity. And kids are constantly drawing those characters, and he has instructions on how to do it in the back. And that whole idea of promoting creativity is so great. And then for me as a writer, kind of what you're talking about in terms of comedy is like presenting a certain style, a sensibility, a comedic sensibility that maybe you're not so familiar with. And I know that I was influenced by things that I saw, and when I was a kid, that helped shape my sense of humor. I think that's super valuable.
What were the things that shaped your sense of humor when you were a kid?
Well, I'm old, so it's like we memorized Monty Python and stuff like that. And I think that's probably maybe the biggest influence. And it's that style of comedy that they were so good at that I call intelligently silly, which is something that Dave does and something that I love to do. And have done in a variety of places. And then I watched all the sort of all the old school cartoons and stuff like that. And then there's an irreverence in sort of old Warner Brothers cartoons and stuff like that. And, I worked on a bunch of Warner Brothers stuff too. So we were able to kind of get into that.
Well,
turning things on its head, things like that.
There's something pretty incredible about, Monty Python, Holy Grail specifically, that I think you can watch that when you're 10, 11 years old and enjoy it, and then go back when you're 15 and really it just kind of blows your mind at all the stuff you missed, and probably even when you're 25, and you can revisit that every couple years and just find all these new things, because it is, as you said, it's highly intelligent but just utterly silly at the same time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things, like their skit, the Ministry of Silly Walks. It's like it works as a ridiculous physical comedy piece, but then it works as a funny character thing, and then it actually turns into, you can get in at so many different levels. It also works as social satire.
Yes.
So it's it's a deep style of comedy that I love getting into.
And I think obviously this is not designed for a similar audience, but you can tell while I'm watching this with my son that I'm not insulted while I'm watching this film. It's something that, I probably wouldn't put on without my son, but I actually enjoyed watching this film. So, but it's absolutely designed for the person sitting next to me, that I appreciate that, because a lot of times there's kids movies that I watch that I feel like they're aimed towards me and not my kid. And I do like it when they're squarely, just they have my son's tastes and intentions in mind.
Well, that's because they have my tastes and intentions in mind. So it's like I don't really think about kids that much when I'm doing this stuff. It's more like, oh, I like this. This will be fun. And then the context of the material says this is the appropriate thing for this kind of material. But I mean, I always think of it not really as separating the kids and adults, but trying to find places that people will enjoy. Just in general. So yeah, I want to enjoy it. I'm not like, oh, they'll like that. They'll like that. They'll like that. It's like, I want to like it. So.
And how long does it take from when you start the writing process to, now you're in theaters, coming on digital? How long was that journey for you?
I mean, I originally pitched Dav Pilkey on it in March of 2020, which is 5 years ago. But really it's like 4 years, including the writing. And then the actual production of the movie is about 3 years. It takes a long time. Compared to a live action movie, you do a lot of stuff that's similar, like the production design and, and the writing and planning and stuff like that. But the animation itself takes much, much longer than it takes to shoot a movie. It's much, much slower. So that part goes a lot slower in there. And the rest of it's kind of similar.
And the style of animation for it, I really love the specific look of this film, where it's something that feels pretty unique. And I think it honors the books, but it does something that obviously opens it up in a much wider sense without feeling overblown. And it still feels like an appropriate extension of the books, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to I mean, the character design is like very much like a realization of the book characters, and the thing is that the design of those books and the style of them and everything is very much part of the charm of the books. And so if you decided I'm going to redesign this and make the chief look like a tough guy and, all this stuff, it would just erase all of this charm. So it was really about taking the vibe of the books and expanding on it, and keeping it in the same style, as the books, but like fully rendered out. It was really a style that we called high-end handmade. So you can feel like somebody feels like. You feel like somebody made it,
Absolutely. There's imperfections and things like that that you feel, even though that's by design, but it's not something that's all the edges are so smoothed out that it just feels unnatural.
Yeah. And it's part of the charm. It's like not trying to pretend that we're something else, but be a really good version of what we actually are.
Agreed. And I know we're running short on time, but I think the casting here is wonderful. I think you just have a really great voice cast for the film. Can you talk a little bit about that process and getting these right? Because this is something that, these voices are going to live on for a long, long time. And, kids don't associate my son has no idea who Pete Davidson is, and so but getting that voice right is absolutely essential for this particular film.
Well, now he knows who Pete Davidson
Now he
is.
does. Yeah, he has a reference
Yes.
point. So
Right. So he'll see Pete Davidson and go like, "Oh my gosh, that's the guy that played Pete in the Dogman movie." The casting, you go through a whole process and you consider all kinds of people and stuff like that. I'm just really happy with who he ended up with. Pete ended up being just so great. In the movie, there's always a little moment where they're sort of like, what did I get myself into? And then we find some common ground. And then when they see themselves animated, they usually really take off and enjoy it. Lil Rel Howery is fantastic as the chief. He just totally
yeah,
hits all these emotional, pivot points so well. Isla's voice is like wonderfully calming in a frenetic world, of the movie. And then a lot of other really fun and great people in there, and Ricky Gervais didn't have a problem being the evil guy. So
that was the one voice that my son recognized. It was Ricky
he
Gervais.
did.
That he actually he was able to put that one. I had to point it out to him, but yes, he was like, I know this guy. Who's this one? So
Yeah.
he did get that one.
But you always with the cast, I mean, you have people who are capable of acting, who have an interesting sounding voice, and then you kind of find it together. And it if you do the work properly, they're going to sound great. And we were very happy with all the cast.
Well, I think you got something really special here, Peter. I really dug the film, and this is one that's going to stick around for a long time. That people will be showing their. I could imagine my son showing his son this movie. This will be ones that were essential from my childhood that I had to pass on to him. So you got one that's going to last a long time.
Thanks.
Man.
That's actually a really fun thing about kind of working in animation and doing stuff that is kid based is that 30 years later, people are like, "Oh my God, I love that movie. That was my favorite movie. I loved it."
Well, I mean, it's if I when I have the chance to meet anybody that was involved in the original Fox and Hound, that's something that I don't get struck often, but if you touch that movie in any capacity, I don't even have the ability to process that. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. It's great to meet you.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Bye bye.